And we are live. How's it going, everyone? Hope you guys are doing well, and welcome to the first episode of the ToonCar Tandem podcast. So, as we begin here, we technically did have an episode last week, but that was kind of the, like the dress rehearsal, where we kind of gave you guys the syllabus, the lay of the land of how this podcast goes. So we're just gonna move right along here, and if you guys need a refresher on kind of like how we're gonna do things here, we're gonna talk about NASCAR, we're gonna talk about animation, and we might have a few surprises here and there. So a couple of reminders here before we begin. First of all, if you guys want to join the Discord here, and if you guys want to talk about what we're talking about here, which is why we love NASCAR, the link to that is in the description below. And then also, if you're here for the main discussion as well, like if you don't want to hear us talk about the introduction stuff or the race at Michigan, once this podcast is done live streaming, I'll put in the timestamps in the description below, and you guys can then jump ahead to whatever time it is that this the main topic is going to happen. And then the last reminder is that this podcast is weekly for now, and it is every Monday at 8 Eastern, 7 Central Time. So, as you guys know or do not know, I am not doing this podcast alone. I do have a co-host with me, and that is Alex Gray. You also know him as Sonic Rules 831 on YouTube. Alex, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, Griffin. How are you doing?
Oh, just good. Just slaving away at work, you know. Just, yeah, the work life, man. It's so mind-numbing. Words, am I right? But hey, that's why I'm doing this podcast, just to keep working on my communication skills, my talking, my words, all that fun stuff. So, but yeah, this past week was definitely, today actually is a little annoying. On Discord, I mentioned that for whatever reason on my phone, my Wi-Fi keeps cutting in and out, which is, it's ridiculous. Like, my Wi-Fi is fine, like the internet on like the computer here, so the stream should be fine. Like, I haven't had any issues yet with streaming. My iPod, which I listen to music on, that's fine. Wi-Fi is good there. And, and looks like we got a super chat from my dad's life saying, good luck on your podcast, dude. Thank you so much for that, man. Greatly appreciate it, man. But anyway, so the Wi-Fi keeps cutting out on my phone, you know, and it's like, so right now I have my phone off. It's off. I am not touching it right now. It's a Samsung S10e, if it means anything. I'll worry about it later, but no, it's a pain in the butt, and I have to figure that out here sooner or later. Yeah, so Alex, I already asked how was you, but I guess what's a big highlight that came out of you this last week?
Well, let's see here. Past Wednesday, I actually went out to a baseball game. There's an independent league team near me called the Florence. Well, they were called the Florence Freedom. Mm-hmm. Now they are called the Florence Y'alls.
Y'all, like YALLS?
Yes. There's a story behind this because there's a water tower right across the highway from the ballpark that says Florence Y'all. Because originally I think it was supposed to say Florence Mall, but they didn't build it right away. Or I guess they didn't build it, but they built it later, so they put in Florence Y'all. So that's why they changed the team name, because they had new ownership and everything. But their league canceled because of the pandemic. So they decided to make this deal where they just do a nice little short season with the Lexington Legends of the Single A Baseball League. And they formed a couple teams. So it's the Florence Freedom, Florence Y'alls, Lexington Legends, and Lexington Leyendas, which was like a El Dia de los Muertos uniform that they had. And so I saw a doubleheader, and cheap tickets, like $7. I got to kick back 50% capacity. It was nice. It was fun. I wore a mask. It was just nice. It was a beautiful evening, too. So it was just nice going out and just doing something amidst the craziness that is 2020. So
no kidding. The hits just keep on coming, man. I tell you what.
Yeah.
First Christopher Bell going to the 20 car, and now
Exactly.
that's so. Speaking of crazy, so if you guys follow me on Twitter, I did make some Enter 2003 stuff. So yeah, let's talk about that for a second. So. I haven't posted anything on YouTube, but on my Twitter, I don't want to get too deep into this, but so someone created a new version of Camera Control Master, which is the thing you use to, control the cars and, how I make my work. And I was able to like get that all to work and figure that out. So you're wondering, Griff, are you back? Are you making the Enter 2003 stuff still? Not yet. Like what I want to do right now, like I'm honestly at a point where if I work on anything that's more than a day long, I get burned out. Like I just get so burned out so easily. I want to, like if I can make Enter 2003 stuff and if I can create stuff for a living, that's my goal. That's my career, and that's a reason why I'm doing this podcast, and that's a reason why I'm like still making stuff and still active is because like I want to create things for a living, and that's my ultimate goal. But there's no way I can make like another like One More Spark series or any series. Like it's not worth it because I still have a full-time job that I have to take care of still. So I just want to throw that out there if you guys are wondering, if you guys are curious, and that's that's all. That's all I'm going to talk about that. So with that being said, here we're going to switch topics here. Thank you, Alex, for not reminding me to switch topics.
You're welcome.
So what we're going to talk about now is we're going to talk about the Michigan races that happened here. So before we get into the main topic, there was a race, well, races on Saturday and Sunday, and let's talk about the first race here. So the first thing that really came to mind was Bubba was running well, finishing in the top 10.
Yeah, he was up there contending for the win. I felt like he had a good short run car. I think it was like the last or second to last restart. He was like fifth.
Yeah.
And I had just showed up to my friends Michael and John, their brothers. They just had a little birthday get together. So we actually watched that race, the end of that race again. I tell you what, we were like, "Come on, Bubba!" Because we were sitting there going like, "Oh God, oh goodness, if Bubba won this race, and how huge that would be." But
Yeah.
no, top 10 is still great. It's great for him and that team. I think this is certainly his best season so far in the Cup Series. So I'm thrilled for him, and I think only greater things will continue to take place for Bubba.
Me too. Me too. Yeah, there's so many opportunities for him ahead. Like the two biggest, of course, is the ownership stake at RPM or going over to Chip Ganassi Racing. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes for him. But yeah, I definitely see good things for him. Speaking of good things, Kevin Harvick, he wins. He keeps winning. And not to spoil ahead for the second race, but he won. He swept both of the races. So I guess what are your thoughts on Mr. Harvick?
I mean, it almost reminds me of 2018, just how dominant that he's being, and it's it's gonna be a bummer if he ends up winning like 10 to 12 races and doesn't win the championship because he's just been that dominant. He and Denny Hamlin both really. My dad, big Harvick fan, Anheuser-Busch, based in St. Louis, so he's pretty happy.
Yeah.
So, and I do like the paint scheme that he's racing right now, the light apple car. I think that's a really nice paint scheme. He's ran so many different Busch paint schemes and has won in different Busch beer paint schemes this season. So, really, he's caught fire since NASCAR's return back in May. So, he's definitely a favorite for the championship.
Yeah, no, I agree. And so I mean, I'll just mention this for a second. So I respect Harvick. Like he's doing his job. He's winning races. Like good for him. I'm just not a big fan of the guy. Like there's just something about him that I just cannot click with. And I think there was something about the 2006 Busch series was the one year where it's like just rubbed me the wrong way, Yeah,
Oh yeah,
yes,
that was the year he like clinched the championship with like 5 races to go or something.
yeah. So the context
Yeah.
is Kevin Harvick was the original Kyle Busch, in my opinion. So before Kyle Busch decided, like everyone's memed on Kyle Busch going into the lower series and dominating them now, that's what Kevin Harvick did back in the day. And in 2006, yeah, he won the championship like over 1,000 points over another Cup guy, Carl Edwards, at the time. So it's
Yeah.
like, and it's one of those things that's a little controversial, because on one end, like, yeah, he's like dominant, and it's very interesting to see like how far can he go. But
Mhm.
at the same time, it's kind of boring too, just seeing him constantly like out front, and it's like, if he has like competition behind him, like if Hamlin and Ryan Blaney were like on his rear the entire time, yet Harvick was still able to lead a lot of laps, then I give him more praise, and I'd say like that's awesome. But I don't know if it's the car, I don't know if it's the track, I don't know what it is, but just the way how Harvick was able to pull away and dominate pretty easily, like, it's pain. Well, and not actually, sorry, not pain, but like, I don't know. It's just, I don't want to be a negative Nancy about it, Like
Oh, I understand.
like yeah, like again, he's doing his job, and he's now tied with Rusty Wallace in most career wins, but
Yep.
I don't know. I could be wrong. Probably. I'm probably wrong. But hey, speaking of pain, how about Brad Keselowski and Ryan Blaney? Am I right?
Oh goodness,
Yeah.
Penske in shambles.
Yeah. I saw that live, and the way how Keselowski yeeted into Ryan Blaney, and it's just like, are you one time, one time,
Yeah.
can Ryan Blaney not have like bad luck, And I blame Bob Pockris. So Bob Pockris is a like a analyst guy for Fox Sports,
Mhm.
and he had his pick, Blaney, the guy to win, and I'm like, you're the one, that jinxed him. But at the same time, I've been getting garbage from a lot of people saying that Jimmy Johnson is going to win. And everyone's all like, stop, and willing to break my knuckles, and, all that fun stuff. So,
That's that's kind of why I haven't picked Johnson to win lately. Is because I'm afraid I'm just going to jinx him over and over again. But even that isn't working. But yeah, with Blaney, he's I swear he could have had like 4 wins this season right now. But
yeah,
yeah, he's just ran into the worst luck possible, and that just happens in racing. Some guys just have awful luck, and
yeah.
I think we've both experienced that as junior fans too. Um,
Yeah, 2011 Coke, or yeah, 2011 Coke 600 comes to mind.
yeah.
Don't remind me, yet I just did.
You're good.
That or 2014 Kansas too, when he
Oh
blew to
my
Tyler
goodness.
leading, and it's just like,
Dude, my heart stopped. I went, no way that just happened. Oh my goodness.
but it happened. It's just the way the cookie crumbles. So
Yeah.
yeah, well, and speaking of pain, also Hendrick I've noticed is definitely, and speaking of Johnson, I guess, like, so other than Chase Elliott, who has been having a few consistent top tens, like Johnson, Bowman, Byron. I mean, Byron is 16th in points, and he could eventually possibly fall out. Is it time to
Yeah.
panic?
I, especially with that new Chevy body, I thought in the first 4 races, and I know it's only 4 races before the pandemic ruined everything.
Right.
I thought Chevy, especially, I thought Hendrick looked strong. Um, Johnson was doing okay. Bowman got the win. It seemed to me, even going into the post pandemic break, that Bowman, he had something going. I felt it's one of those things where sometimes you have a flame going, but then it dies out too soon. I
Yes.
see that with Bowman.
Yep.
Um,
I saw that with Blaney as well. Like, well, because yeah, Bowman and Blaney, those were like the top two guys, and like Las Vegas, those two like had a good race going, and if for whatever reason caution came out, they came down pit road, and then Logano was eventually the winner. So
yeah,
yeah, I wonder what happened. Like, it's so weird, and like yeah, Chevy as a whole definitely did drop off, with the exception of RCR finishing 1-2 at Texas. Like, we really haven't seen much out of Chevy. It's It makes you wonder, right?
Not to mention, I mean, it was just 5 years ago that Chevy had all the star power. Jeff Gordon obviously in his final year. You still had Junior who was doing really well. You
Yep.
had Kane. You had Johnson who was still winning races, and whoever else. And they've just kind of fallen off, and it's just very odd.
Mm-hmm.
I can't really explain at this point what it is. Um, I hope they turn it around because Toyota and Ford are whooping their butts right now, and when next gen rolls around, you don't know if what any other manufacturer may come in and do the same thing, and then you're Chevy, and you're like, what do we
Right.
do? So
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a whole nother story when the next gen comes on in. But
yeah,
yeah, it makes me wonder if it's either the car that's wrong or if just if driver talent is starting to run out. Maybe. I don't know, man. I do not know. But
yeah.
well, switching gears though, we can acknowledge the lower series for a second. We had the Xfinity Series at Road America, and we had Austin Cindric. This is his what, fourth win in like 5 races now for the man.
He caught fire. Yeah, he's
He,
catching fire.
yeah, I mean, even though one of the wins was based off a DQ by, yeah, it was Kyle Busch, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So, I mean, technically he didn't win, but he did win. So, it is what it is. I guess one quick question: would you like to see Road America be on the Cup schedule here next year?
yeah, I would totally be down for Road America being on the Cup schedule. I think it's a great track, great venue. I think it'll provide some very fun racing.
And it's actually relatively close to where I live. Actually, the only thing that's separating me and the track is the entire state of Minnesota.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And then to finish off this portion of the podcast, Zane Smith with the last lap pass at the truck race at Michigan. Boy, that
Yeah.
did you watch that race live?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That
That
that was insane. Like, because at the beginning you had who were the three trucks? It was Enfinger, Nemechek, and Hill. Yeah, that's right.
yeah.
Yeah, Enfinger came down on Nemechek and spun himself out. And then yeah, and then Eckes came out of nowhere to almost win. And then in turn three, Zane Smith out of nowhere dive bombs in and takes the win. And yeah, good for Zane Smith to win that.
Yeah, yeah, that's a big moment for a guy like him. He ran some races for Junior Motorsports and Xfinity last year, made the move down to trucks, which I think was a great move.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the truck series is very competitive this year. There's so many good young drivers down there, and or even drivers in general, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he got very emotional about it. That first win, you treat everyone like it's your last because you never know when it could be your first and only, right?
Yes.
Or first of many. But I think Shane Smith's a very talented driver, and I think we're going to see many more out of him.
Yeah, no, me too. And I also love the design on the truck too.
Mm.
Definitely a very pretty truck. I don't know if they're making a diecast out of that truck, but if they do, I definitely would pre-order that truck for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anything else from the past weekend here before we switch topics?
I think that does it in terms of the past weekend.
Cool. Yeah, and then just to let you guys know, this is not like a NASCAR news podcast, and so like we're aware of like Christopher Bell moving over to Joe Gibbs Racing and all that stuff, and like we could speculate that and all that stuff, but that's not really what this podcast is for. We gave that, or we give that, if you will, to the NASCAR podcast, which is on either Danny B's channel, Black Flags Matter channel, Iceberg channel, or Eric's channel, and that's on Wednesday nights. So I guess that's a little plug for those guys.
Mhm.
But with that being said, we are going to go right ahead here and move on to the main topic of this podcast, and that is simply why we love NASCAR. Like, what was the point of getting into NASCAR? Like, why we stick around for it? And so, I guess to start off, a big reason why I wanted to do this topic is because there's a lot of negativity going on. I see, like on Twitter and social media, and there's a lot like, and even earlier in this podcast I was complaining about like Kevin Harvick and complaining how the racing was, but sometimes you gotta take a step back and you realize that there is definitely some positive things about the sport, and like there's something about it that really draws us in as fans. So I guess Alex, what I'll do is I'll let you start off. Could you talk about how did you get into NASCAR? Like, what did you see in it? Why do you stick around and do so much with it? Like, what is your I guess testimony into NASCAR?
All right. Like, do you want me to go ahead and do like a quick story of how I got into it too?
Yeah, let's do. Yeah, I'll do mine too. So go for it.
Okay. So, as a kid, I was really getting into like car racing in general. I liked, all the different cool looking cars that raced around in the circuit. And it started for me when my brother and I got a PlayStation 2, Christmas of '03, I want to say. And the first two games that we got from it were ATV Off-Road Fury 2 and Gran Turismo 3. And we spent hours playing those games. Gran Turismo 3 was really a big one. There was my brother loved playing the racing as the Le Mans Dodge Viper or sports car. I liked the Castro Tom's sports car Supra that was in the game, and that game came out in like 2001, which has incredible graphics for a 2001 game. So that's where it kind of started, and then I started like renting different racing games from this place called Blockbuster that Griffin and I know very well. Where long before there was streaming and stuff like that, there was we sound old saying this, and we're in our 20s. Blockbuster, you go, you rent a game or a movie for 7 days, and then you bring it back. Yeah. But yeah, well, on a summer in 2004, I rented NASCAR Thunder 2003. And that's kind of where it started. And I looked through all the different cars and all the colors, and I was like, oh, hey, Target, I know that one. I know the Kellogg cereal. I know that one. I just started picking out like all the different cars and stuff. And I remember the first car I ever raced as was Jimmy Spencer's Target car. And yeah, it kind of trickled into that. My dad started to notice that, after I turned that game back in, I was kind of bummed. So he got me NASCAR Thunder 2004. And I started playing that game a lot. And, July '04, my dad's like, hey, why don't you, watch a NASCAR race? And I was like, okay, yeah. So, we actually all sat down, and it was the 2004 Tropicana Twister 400 at Chicagoland. And I got hooked on it right away. Just seeing the action, the drama unfold, the racing, and all the different, like, sponsors and all the different companies and colors that were associated. And, of course, I remember Tony Stewart and Casey Kane's pit crews got into a fight in that race. Mm-hmm. And I was like, whoa, this is intense. And I think Stewart won that race. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But
I'll fact check you if you keep talking here.
Okay. So, yeah, that's kind of where it all started. And I haven't been public about this. I have Asperger's syndrome, so I have certain focuses on things, and NASCAR became like my one true focus, to a point where people in school were like, why do you love NASCAR? They just run in circles. Why don't you watch football? I'm like, I like football too, but NASCAR is awesome, and I won't lie. I first started as a Jeff Gordon fan for a little bit, but later on in the season, I really started to become Junior Nation. Because I heard about his dad. I actually still have those DVDs. I got a History of NASCAR DVD. I got a Any Day Given Dale Jr. DVD that led him up to the 2003 EA Sports 500. Oh gosh, I got like a book called The 50 Greatest NASCAR Drivers in History. That was from, I think that was a 50th anniversary 1998 thing, because yeah, it was 98. And I got all these books and everything, because I just started to learn so much about the sport that had the results from every single race before there was racing reference. And I just at one point at a race, I went to a race. I want to say it was Atlanta '06 in the spring, and these two guys behind me, I was like 8. These two guys were like, did Terry Labonte ever win a championship? I think he won one. And I couldn't help it, because I knew. I turned around and said, without thinking, I said, yeah, he won it in 1984, 1996. And they were like, wow, kid. So they were like really impressed with that. And Oh gosh, yeah, just like, and I was like, wow, Mario Andretti won a Daytona 500, and I just started learning so much, and I was like, this is so cool. I love this. Like,
Mm,
and since then, 16 years later, I'm 23 years old, and you are not going to stop me from loving NASCAR or auto racing in general too. So that's just
mm.
that's pretty much my story.
Good stuff. That's interesting that you got interested in yeah, in 2003. That's funny because at that point I'm already like 7 years into NASCAR already at that point. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So I guess I'll give you my little backstory as to kind of how I got into NASCAR. And not gonna lie, it's kind of hard to remember because this was back in 1997 of all
Hmm.
years. And so the first ever videotape that we ever got, and I do not remember if either the my folks like gave us this. And this is okay. This is before DVDs. It's like called a VHS, a little like
Yep.
cassette tape thing that you actually like push in. It's like rectangular. Boy, it's I feel old now just talking about this.
And you,
So
if you wanted to watch it again, you had to hit the rewind button
that's
to
right.
rewind.
And it makes like a noise and then it backs up and good times.
And let
So
me
go for it.
go ahead. Oh, I just wanted to say, you knew you hit the treasure when you had the orange Nickelodeon ones.
Yes. Yep. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Every time I read, I get one of those. Absolutely. But anyway, NASCAR. So, so how I got into NASCAR, and it's actually kind of so okay. Or I'm gonna yeah words. I'm gonna talk about 5 points, like 5 reasons why I love NASCAR, and I believe, and I hope you guys can understand too, and it could be a reason why you guys love NASCAR. And so the number one reason for me is the design of the cars. Back in 1997, you had such a wide variety of colors on cars. You got Ricky Rudd's like fluorescent red orange Tide car. You got Jeff Gordon's rainbow car, Bob Labonte's green Interstate Batteries car, Dale Jarrett's blue car, and just the way how they all just mingle together and race as one is just this blur of rainbow, and like that is something that really like interests me. And going into like the design, like another weird thing about me is like I have a fascination for numbers. And so you see all these different like fonts of numbers on the side of the car. Like you have Jeff Gordon's 24, and then you also have like John Andretti's 98. Like just the way how it's like, yeah, it's a number, but it's like different colors, different formats, different like outline colors. It's like you have so many options to create like different looking cars. And like there's some that, work well and others that I will admit don't work well. But the fact that you got so many different colors to work from, so many different patterns and designs. And so back in 1997, I think it was the 1997 Daytona 500, and seeing all the cars close together with their unique colors, it's like right there, it's like, ooh, there's something interesting about that. And yeah, I said that with a ooh, yeah. Yes, it was really, really interesting for sure. So anyway, yeah, so like that was when it really caught on, and like some of the things that really stuck with me when I was young was like watching the races. My first ever video game was NASCAR Racing 1999 edition. So this was, oh, do the math, Griff. 02, 1, 2000, 4 years, 5 years before NASCAR Racing 2003 season. And to a degree, it had almost all the same stuff. Like there was a paint booth, and I would paint cars for days on there. Like normal people, they have, friends and, would like interact and hang out with each other. Me, I'm inside my home and I painting cars for the 1999 season, 2000 season, and I did this all the way up until like 2005. And I would like in the Enter 2000 or Enter 1999 paint booth would go ahead and like paint all of those. Now,
Hmm.
unfortunately, I, of course, don't have those files because I was a little kid, and my mom would like if she needed like clear out space on the computer, would delete those files and wouldn't tell me. So that's great. That's wonderful. So if you guys are wondering where those files are, yeah. And I mean, I don't even have the game installed on this computer. Like, I mean, I don't even think it's possible to have Enter 1999 on Windows 10. I could look into that later, but the point is, I don't have that. right now. And so, yeah, and another thing that I'm really fascinated with too, and this is going to be another topic in the future, but diecasts, and more specifically the 164 scale. Like, the way how they made diecasts back in the day, like they made literally every single car, and I thought it was so cool because I don't know how like Lionel does it like these days, but they kind of focus more on like here's a replica of like your favorite driver, but they should totally have a thing where it's like Pokemon cards where you would have like collect them all. So like the person
Yeah.
that wants to get like a Timmy Hill diecast can get that, and that could be like the rare car, the one that's not
Yeah.
as made, but it's worth like a lot more. I mean, I'd buy that for sure. And then back in the day too, they also made not just cup cars, but Bush, which is Xfinity Series back in the day, and
Yep.
trucks. They made so many trucks back in the day,
Oh yeah.
and it's like, why stop? But I guess it's just the changing of the times, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's just I could totally go on for that for a long time. But again, that's a different conversation. And if Gino Harvey, aka ACS Racing Network, is watching, I would love to invite you on to this podcast, and then we can have an entire podcast talking about nothing but diecasts. So yeah, shout out to ACS Racing Network. He makes stop motion races on YouTube. Great guy. Yeah, love him. So, but yeah, back to the design of the cars. Like, there's just so many things about it that I just love about it, and just the joy of creation. Like, I just love creating like the cars and painting like different ideas, and and that's a whole fascination for like the What If series, and like having the idea of different numbers and different number fonts on different cars with different drivers. And that's why I'm a big fan of everybody having their own like identity, because like I talked to you off air before we started, Alex. Like, going to Christopher Bell for a second. So the one thing I will mention about Christopher Bell and that whole situation is, yeah, he's moving over to the 20 car, but what if he gets his own number? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Instead of the 20 car, what if he gets a different number? Because like it's him. Now, granted, when Eric Jones moved to the 20 to replace Kenseth, they stayed with 20, and it's probably going to stay 20. And so, chat, if you guys are listening, if Christopher Bell does not drive the 20 car, what number should he drive? And if I were to throw an initial like thought, I would say 5. Just kind of different, kind of out there, but and you're wondering, Griff, there's no real pattern to 5. Well, if you look at what Gibbs has right now, I mean, 11 and then 18, 19, 20, not really much of a pattern right there as is. So yeah, and so I guess quick question to you, Alex. What number
Mhm.
would you see Bell drive if it's not number 20?
Oh man, that's
Putting
that's a
you
good question.
putting you on the
Um,
spot. Yeah.
five is pretty interesting. Or I remember JGR ran an '02 car
Hmm.
in like 2008 when Logano ran a couple races. I think '02 would be an interesting number because I remember you talking about when Ryan Newman drove the '02, and you thought that was like really interesting, and I think you made a really good point there. So you know what? Yeah, I'll go with '02.
O two. Yeah, and it looks like Motorsports Fan 17 agrees with you with O2.
A
And then of course Jetman 999 69. Ha ha ha. That's nice. That's
that
old
boy Jet.
old meme for sure. For sure. So anyway, so just to wrap up, so that's the end of point number 1 of 5. It's just, yeah, the designs of the cars are so just pretty. So the next topic, or the next subject, I should say, number 2 of 5, is the architecture of the racetracks. Now, going back into my little memory bank, so the first ever race, NASCAR race, that I went to was the 1999 Napa Auto Care 250 at Pikes Peak International Raceway. It was the second race that the Busch Series raced there, and it was definitely one of the most memorable times of my life. The smells, the feel of the atmosphere, and it's that race, I would say, is a big reason why this is number 2 on my list. Because there's something about it, about the banking of the racetrack. And this actually goes more specifically to the 2018 Coke 600, which is my first ever cup race that I ever went to. there's just something really fascinating about how high the banking really is. Like the TV does not do it justice versus
Mhm.
seeing the banking on like TV in real life. And even though I haven't been to Daytona or Talladega yet, I bet it's more insane than that because
Yeah.
it's more banked and it's also a lot wider too. And so there's something just fascinating about the architecture of the racetrack with the high banks. And then the next thing is like the buildings around the racetrack. So going to, I'll say Texas, for example, the way how they have that ginormous building in turn number two, and the way how they like
Yeah.
decided to just build that huge monolith of a building and they like lined it up like right next to the racetrack is it's fascinating. Like how can they
Yeah.
create something so big and they're able to like mold it like around this racetrack. It's really pretty to look at in my opinion. And then the last thing then on top of that is, and this is a little strange, but the advertisement billboards. So going back to Pikes Peak, for example, and I'll even throw Iowa in as well. If you look and turn two at both of those tracks, there's like I don't remember the exact number, like 15 to 16 like billboards, like advertisement billboards. Now I get it from a business standpoint. It's like you want to show off your company, and I get that. But just visually, just again, and this goes back to the cars. When you have all those billboards next to each other, it's really pretty to look at because you got the blue, the red, the whites. You got like yeah, like the Goodyear blue. I remember Budweiser having a couple on there. King Supers, which is a grocery company in Colorado.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's just something about like especially with the newer tracks, like how there's a lot more planning that goes into like the way how the grandstands are built and the way how like you got like room for like the merchandise haulers and then the track itself. Like so what's cool with like Iowa, if I remember correctly, it was the first ever track with safer barriers implemented like right away because with the other tracks there were no safer barriers like at first and they had to add safer barriers later, but with
Yeah.
Iowa like when they built the track they had safer barriers in mind and then they placed them around the track. And so it's just those little like innovative things that I love about like the way how a track is configured. And then actually on top of that, and I didn't put this down, but I want to mention this too, is just like layouts of the racetracks. Now, yeah, you could have so many ovals, but like there's this it's so cool how like you could have different like sizes of ovals because you got like Bristol, which is like half a mile, Dover, which is 1 mile, and then Homestead, which is 1.5 miles. And but they all look the same. Like it's the same like oval, but they all race differently because the size of them is different. But then on the other side of the coin, you got like let's just say Homestead, Kansas, and Atlanta. They're all about 1.5 miles long, but they're all configured a little differently, and thus because of that, they have their own like style of racing, if you will. And
Mhm.
you can say if it's for the better or not. But there again, there's just something about the architecture about the tracks that's just really fascinating to look at. So yeah, Alex, you got anything else to add on about that?
Yeah. The tracks. My first NASCAR race I ever went to was the 2005 Meyer 300 at Kentucky, and my first Cup race was the 2005 Brickyard 400. Funny enough, and I
Oh
went to
wow.
yeah. So I won't lie. I cried when Junior wrecked.
Hmm.
I think McMurray brake checked and Junior just ran out of room and just right into the wall. I remember these two Jeff Gordon fans were trying to calm me down. My dad's got a Powerade for me, trying to get back up to see what happened because he didn't know what happened. But
Hmm.
yeah, you talk about the banking. I remember when I went to Bristol. I went to Bristol as well in the fall of 2005. I got to walk on the track the morning of the race, and oh my goodness, the banking is insane there. Like I tried walking up it, I couldn't do it. Nobody
Hmm.
could.
Hmm.
So when you talk about the banking, yeah, and I've been to Talladega in 2007 when Gordon passed Earnhardt on the wins list, and
So you were there when all the cans and everything flew at Gordon.
yeah, unfortunately, and I was there the Bush race the day before when Bobby Labonte beat Tony Stewart in a photo finish. That
That's
was
right.
pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a fun weekend. Talladega. I was supposed to go back the next spring, but I got sick. So
Oh, dang.
yeah, yeah. But and then the advertising boards. I like that too, especially at Kentucky. You know, all around turns 1 and 2, and then turns 3 and 4. Obviously, it's got lesser banking than the other D-shaped tracks like Kansas and Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
Just seeing like Belterra Casino or Kroger on those boards. And yes, I love that track. I know everybody else hates it, but it's my home track. I literally live 40 minutes from it.
That's nice that you're so close to it.
Yeah, it's my home track.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh shoot, what was I gonna say? Something about the bill. Okay, yeah. So a little side tangent, and I guess a reason why I prefer the billboards like a lot. It's not in your
Yeah,
face. Like if you want, you could look at the billboard, but you can also look at the cars, and it's there,
yeah.
but it's not like screaming at you like Shaq yelling at you to buy, I don't know, Papa John's pizza, you know.
His new Shakaroni pizza. Yeah.
Which I mean, I'm not sponsored by Papa John's, but last Friday I actually had a shakaroni pizza, you know, and really completely irrelevant side tangent thought. I've been thinking about like if this podcast gets sponsors, like I could totally think about like this podcast is brought to you by Papa John's Pizza. Have a shakaroni pizza today, and like I don't know, get some money out of
Or
it probably.
Raid Shadow Legends.
Yeah. Or like I don't know, like this morning when I was at work, I had a random thought. Like Kamikaze Games, shout out to you if you're watching this. Like I know he did some like silly random commercials for like random stuff,
Oh yeah.
commercial like ad be gone or something like that. Like
Yeah.
and I could throw in like a silly voice like this podcast is brought to you by ad be gone, and then yeah, and then I'll go from there. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm tired. Words they fail me. Anyway.
Yeah.
NASCAR. Why is it so great? I don't know. Anyway, so let's move
Because it
on.
is great.
It is great, but let's talk about the third one, third of five, and that's the stories that come out. So one thing that, and it's kind of a reason why I like animation, is the stories, like the story behind like drivers, tracks, and that's like a reason why like there are like all the other YouTube channels that are out there. Like there are so many stories that can come from NASCAR in general. And so like the first one that comes to mind is like how drivers got to where they are.
Yeah.
And the one that fascinates me the most is DiBenedetto. Matt
Mhm.
DiBenedetto is like yeah, he is on my top 5 of favorite drivers. And biggest reason why is he worked for it. Like he's a very genuine guy who, and I've watched him struggle when in the Nationwide series. He was driving like a little like 40 car, starting and parking for several
Yeah.
races. And then in 2016, he finished in the top 5 for BK Racing, and he like got noticed, moved to the 32 car, raced a little better, and then for the 1 year Levine Family Racing, and almost won at Bristol in 2019, and Hamlin
Yeah.
ruined it. Why? Anyway, and now he has this very competitive ride at Wood Brothers, and I'm very excited to see if he can actually win a race here. He looks good in terms of getting into the playoffs, but
Yeah.
but going back to the story part, like just again seeing him like struggle, and kind of a really random side thought. When I first heard of De Benedetto, he was a development driver at Joe Gibbs Racing. He
Yeah.
drove the Nationwide 20 car, or in the Nationwide series, drove the 20 car for a few races. And so a really random thought I had, I never painted the car, but this was at the time where number 10 was available, and I thought it'd be cool if he drove a number 10 GameStop Toyota for Joe Gibbs Racing.
Mm.
I think
Okay.
yeah, I think it'd be cool, like because 10 and 20 they can match, and then 11 and 18. So yeah, I don't know, just kind of a random thought, but De Benedetto seems like a very genuine guy, and I want to see him succeed. And so along those lines, like underdogs, like anytime you see a driver that has never like led before, never like has won a race, like oh, those are the best. Like for example, I'm gonna throw a random one out here. You remember the 2012 truck race at Daytona? A guy by the name of John King won that
Yes.
race. And it's like after he won that race, we like never heard from him again.
Yeah. John King. I remember that.
Hmm. Yeah, in this red 7 truck for Red Horse Racing. And yeah, and I mean, the last lap was under caution because Joey Coulter flew into the catch fence. But
Yeah.
yeah, John King, like, who was the guy? Where did he come from? How did he get into racing? It's it's so it's so weird. And actually, on that note, like another idea, and again, I'm probably not going to go anywhere with this, but an idea that I've like popped in my head going on to the what if train for a minute is like, what if like a certain driver just didn't go into NASCAR? So like for example, I don't remember the story, but like Joey Logano, like Joey Logano's dad like gave him like a go kart, and then because after that, Joey Logano became like a fan of NASCAR and he started racing a lot. And so like the what
Hmm.
if is like, what if Joey's dad never gave him the go kart and Joey never went into racing? And then we would pull like a what if Dylan Hart was still alive, and we would like follow NASCAR all the way through, except Joey Logano is not there. So
Yeah.
who would be in the 20 car, and then once the 22 car was eventually made, who's going to be in there? How many drivers are then affected because of that? That okay. So boy, this stuff that fascinates me so much, but the problem is it takes so much time to like put it all together that financially it would break me.
Yeah.
So like if there's any way I can get like a bunch of like financial support, and if I can like do this NASCAR stuff like full time, fantastic. And we can do like without Logano, or for giggles, without Dale Earnhardt Jr. What if Dale Earnhardt Jr. is like, you know what, Daddy, I'm not going to do this NASCAR thing, and he never goes into the NASCAR at all? How would
Curse.
that? How would NASCAR? How would NASCAR be affected by that? Like, would Dale Earnhardt still be alive? First off, would he still be active? Like, see that? That's the
Will
stuff
Jeffrey
that.
Earnhardt turn into something?
Yeah, yeah. What if he becomes the next Dale Earnhardt Jr.? You know, who knows?
Yeah.
See, that's the stuff that like goes in my head, and like that's the stuff that I'm just fascinated about and would love to, I could talk about it for days, but visually, making cars like, oh boy, like painting the cars,
Yeah.
going back to the letter A, or the topic, the first reason or whatever, just the design of it, I can then have that opportunity to create something new. And yeah, where were we at? Oh yeah, the stories. Okay. But then the last thing I want to say about the stories then is just legends. How are
Hmm.
legends made? How was Jeff Gordon like the what's his name, Wonder Boy? How he went from Wonder Boy to being the third all-time winningest driver in NASCAR history.
Hmm.
Seeing those drivers like come up and like you see him dominate, and yeah, a lot of people don't like seeing domination, but then it's like in the end, and you see Jeff Gordon with 93 wins, Jimmy Johnson with 83 wins, and it's
Yeah.
like you got to give him mad props for just working so hard, being with an excellent team, and really showing that you are one of the best in NASCAR, and it will go down in storybooks as some of the best drivers in history.
Yeah. That's why I have respect for guys like Jimmy Johnson. It's just they've had so many accomplishments. I'm just like, wow. You know, in our lifetime, we got to see someone win 5 straight championships and tie Petty and Earnhardt for the most championships. That's
Mm-hmm.
pretty cool. So, and you talk about how legends are made and underdogs. One comes to mind is Alan Kowicki. This was a guy who literally formed his own team, had 7 full-time employees, championship. He Johnson, who arguably at the time was the top team owner, who offered Kawicki to race for him, and Kawicki 2 times turned him down and beats his team to win a championship. That's incredible, and I'm just like, if he hadn't died, how would his race team? What would AK Racing still be around? How would the rest of Kawicki's career have gone? Who raced for him later on? Stuff like that.
Just to warn you, Alex, you did cut out a little bit there, so just
Oh, really?
yeah, so just watch out for that. But I did get what you mean though, with Alan Kowicki being the biggest underdog of like 1992. Which, little random fun fact, my middle name is Alan. Fun fact, like the same as
Oh,
like Alan Kowicki. So yeah, and so if you do the math, my initials do spell GAS, which is gas. Ha 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 ha. Yeah, because I have gas. Ha 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 ha. All right.
Reminds
Anyway.
me reminds me when there was Nick Gas on Nickelodeon.
Oh yeah, another old thing. Stop making me feel old. Thanks, Alex.
Sorry.
So before moving on to the fourth point, do you have anything more to add about just stories in general?
I don't think so.
Okay, cool. So moving on then. So number four, and this one's more of a specific niche, but it's again something that does fascinate me, and that's stats.
Mhm.
I am a stats nerd. And okay, so I'm a again, we've mentioned this multiple times. I'm weird. I'm weird, I'm different. I've accepted that. And so one thing that I'm weird about, my two best subjects in school are math, like numbers, and art, which you think to a degree are like polar opposites. Like someone that
Yeah.
likes numbers but also likes being creative. Griff, you're so weird. I know. We've already established that. Let's move on. but going back to but going back to stats, like that like subject matter like always interested me. Like finding like the max of like a bunch of stats, like the medians, the averages, and like every time like NBC or Fox or ESPN or TNT pulls out like a stat for us to see, like it always fascinates me and it adds more to the coverage as a whole, and specifically
Mhm.
number like stats too. Like so, for example, like Kevin Harvick on his hot streak, I don't remember what the exact stat was, but that guy has been like on a roll with like consistent like top tens like for a few races in a row. I need to fact check myself just so I don't, I'm not blowing smoke. I promise you that. But here, let's see here. 2020 with 6 wins already, and yeah, after Pocono. So the first Pocono race, he was first, second, first, fourth, fifth, first, and first.
Mhm.
So, with that being said, and according to Racing Reference, his average start, which doesn't mean much, is 9.2, but his average finish 5.9. So he's had an average finish of 6 throughout all the races. And so his worst finish was 26, which came at Homestead. And yet even in that race, he finished all the laps and he still led 2 laps in that race despite him finish or wait, hold on, am I doing right? Oh no, he was a lap down. Never mind. I lied. But
Mhm.
anyway, though, yeah, and I mean, he's led 888 laps so far this year. He's a rocket. He's definitely coming out at the right time for sure, Mister Harvick. But anyway, going back to stats though, it's just those numbers and those like computing those that stuff, and that's a reason why like when I make like the summer showdowns, one thing I love doing when making those videos is like I have a little point standings, and I would go ahead and I would like compute the points. So how many like points everyone has earned every single race. Like I love doing that. I love like that addition side. It's something that I get joy out of. And
Mhm.
then another thing too that I am interested in is all the different ways that we've learned this recently of how a driver is declared a champion in NASCAR. Because back in the day, you got like the point system, and then you have to chase, and it makes my head spin with like different ways to declare a champion. And so, if you were to ask me, like, what is the best way that I would think to declare a champion, we should do something from 2003 where it is points based, like all the way across the season.
Mhm.
But what I'm not opposed to doing is have like a separate like playoff at the end of the year as kind of like a special incentive for those drivers that are back in like 12th, 13th in standings. Give them something to race for still. And at the end of the year, we would have like a playoff champion, but we would still have like the real champion as well. Someone who has been there through all 36 races or something like that.
Yeah, I personally like that idea. I think you had that idea in One More Spark. Was it the Phenom 5, I think it was?
Okay, so you're mixing two things together. So first of all,
Oh, am I?
no, yeah, no, it's okay. The Phenom 5 was part of 2002, and that was my
Yeah.
version of the Noble 5, where you had
Yeah.
yeah, and that was something. Well, but then it did go into like a playoff thing. So yeah, it was his own like unique thing. But then the other thing
Hmm.
I was thinking about was in the now debunked One More Spark 1987. That was where I had the what was it? Top 12 had their own playoff, and then they would
Gotcha.
have that. Yeah, yeah. But no, it's just fun thinking of all the different ways to declare a champion. But now in the end, it's like literally you just have to be the best car at Homestead, and then you win.
Yeah.
But whatever. That's another topic for a later time.
Hmm.
So the last thing, number 5 on this is the community. And that is the one thing that's I would say it's more recent for me as to a big reason why I like NASCAR. And to be honest, like this one didn't really come in until about I would say 2018, honestly. Because when I was making my other videos back in the day, like there really wasn't much of a, especially like a NASCAR YouTube community. Like I was
Hmm.
making the videos and whatnot, and people watched, but like there was no like camaraderie. There's no like I guess connecting, if you will. But then in 2018, like something clicked where like Danny B Talks rose, and then Jarrett and Black Flags Matter, Eric, you, who else? What If Racing, Kamikaze Games, Slap Shoes, Ed Soundhead, Lombard, and multiple others. Like finally, like came together. And one of the most like humbling things, and like it's one of those things that still like blows my mind, is when I would like for the first time. Okay, okay. So back in 2018, when I that was when the NASCAR podcast was starting up, and it was just Danny B Talks and Jarrett. And
Hmm.
one time for giggles, I went ahead and I, said hi in there. And then they were like, "Oh, hey, Griff Dog's in there." And it's just like, "Wait, they know me?" And it's just one of those shocking things where it's like, "Oh my gosh, I guess I've reached out to more people than I thought I did." And it's one of those like big things where it's like it's really humbling, but at the same time a big, I guess, shock as well, if you
Right.
will. Like the fact that I've actually like have touched like people, and no, it's great for sure. And especially when we could talk about this just for a minute, but like when my brother passed and when I announced that, like all of the support that I got from everybody afterward was just phenomenal, and so many people that like I didn't even know, and I don't even know if they even knew me, but they like sent me messages and they like wished their further respects and stuff like that. And no, it's great. And shout out to everybody that's in the live chat right now and everyone that's watching right now. Like, I would not have been doing this podcast without you guys. Like the community here. Now, I'll say right now, like it's not perfect. Like we do have the interesting people, but honestly, every single group has their interesting people, and that's okay. I mean, and that's and I guess a little side tangent here, a little bit of a rant. But every time I see like a tier list of like favorite YouTubers, or you see the question of like, what's your favorite NASCAR YouTuber? I kind of cringe at that hard, mostly because I mean, like I, it's like, oh, Griff is not one of my favorites. That's not it. No, the thing
Right.
is, everybody has something to give, and everyone has their own unique standpoint that can give to the NASCAR table. Because like I got the Inter 2003 stuff. Black Lives Matter has his NASCAR bus, his champions. Iceberg has his different points of view. Danny B Talks has his like weird oddities, his Rise of Fall series. Kamikaze Games, well, he has him. um, Lombard, Radman, What If Racing have their Let's Plays, and like everyone, and then also ACS Racing Network and NRF. I don't know if he's still doing it, and Misscraft have their NASCAR stop motions, and so everybody has their own like stuff and like their own like angles, if you will, and I greatly appreciate that, and the fact that we are able to come together to like just celebrate NASCAR, and the fact that we still have racing on, and even though we still have our downtimes and we still have our issues, like NASCAR was the thing that brought us all together. I mean, without NASCAR, we would not even be doing this podcast together, Alex. you know. So yeah, that's just definitely community is a big part of it. Yeah, I guess do you have anything else to add, Alex?
Oh yeah. Um yeah, I didn't really dive into the community really until like 2017, 2018. Um you know, I started, talking more on Twitter. I started, just really this year making more NASCAR YouTube videos, and then meeting a bunch of people through Discord, through funny enough these formula based, sheet based NASCAR RPGs. I think some of them might be in the stream, so shout out to y'all. I made some really good friends through there. Um, they're a lot of fun, and you come for you come for the game, you stay for the people, and just made a lot of great friends through there. And if it weren't for them, who knows where I'd be, and you mentioned the whole like people knew who you were. That happened to me at the All-Star race. Me and my friend Michael Klein went down there, and he was friends with the other guys. He introduced my channel. He's like, "Oh yeah, I know you. I've heard you." And I'm like, "What?" You've heard of me. Oh, that's awesome. But yeah, it's just cool meeting a bunch of people who love the same thing you do. And everybody's always like, "Oh, NASCAR's dying." NASCAR's not dying.
Oh.
NASCAR's doing just fine. And thank you, Drew. I see you there. NRPG goated. Um, but yeah, I mean, honestly, when you look at the every community and every fandom, and I've been in different fandoms, they have their good and bad sides.
Yeah.
Just try your best to stick with the positives and the goods, and you're going to be just fine.
Yeah. And when in doubt, memes. Memes are the
Yes.
best. Yep.
Memes help make the world go around.
Amen to that. Yeah,
Mhm.
and I guess one last other humbling thing. When I went to the Coke 600 back in 2018,
Mhm.
yeah, a fan, like a young fan, I don't remember his name. He was a frequent visitor to my YouTube channel. I don't know if he still is, but yeah,
Mhm.
he actually came up to me and said, "Hey, big fan," and yeah, we had a picture together. It was super
Oh,
cool,
cool.
super humbling. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was definitely a good time with him. So.
Mhm.
So yeah, before we move on to questions, we did get a little bit of feedback in the Discord, which, by the way, I'll mention it right now. If you have not joined the Discord, the link is in the description below, and we talk about this stuff. We talk about NASCAR, talk about animation, all that fun stuff. So we did get a little bit of feedback here on simply like why do you love NASCAR? Let's see if we can read a couple of these here. Let's do these. Let's do these top three. All right, Alex.
Okay.
So Taylor Tot 16, the news, and streams dev. So Taylor Tot 16, he said, I liked it mainly for the excitement. I've always enjoyed the finishes and just the way the races unfold every week. Yeah, the unknown is definitely a big part. I think my
Mhm.
first real time ever caring about a NASCAR race was the 2007 Daytona 500. That finish is still burned in my mind and it will probably stay there forever. But I also love the history of the sport too, and researching it is always a blast. I think that's why I enjoy it so much. Yeah, the history is a part of it. It's one of those things where it's a little debatable, I guess. I mean, it's not like history happens for sure, but just I don't know the whole like what's it called, bootlegging is
Mhm.
very it's a very interesting part of it for sure. So, Alex, you want to read what the news said?
Yeah, so the news says, quote, I got into it watching the crashes because, well, I was like 8. That was about, geez, I was about 7 or 8 when I started watching, so I feel you.
Mm-hmm.
But as I got older, I saw the strategy and level of excitement. Sure, it's almost predictable nowadays at some tracks who's going to have a solid finish, and champion might just be some Harvick or Truex like driver. But another element is seeing the Blaneys and Elliots, the likes of them, early and fresh into their career before they become something big. Hopefully, they do.
I hope they do too. I have definitely mad
I
respect for them.
Yeah, I think they will. It'll be a little bit, but I think they will become pretty big names.
Mm-hmm. And then the last one that I will read here, and there were definitely others. So if you guys want to join the Discord, there are a couple of others on here as well. But the last one from Streams Dev, and he said, Like many others, I've mainly been interested in it for the crashes, and I'll just admit too, I do like seeing the crashes too. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, like I mean, you see on YouTube, like the highest NASCAR videos are the crashes, so like
Yeah.
there's something to it there. Anyway, back to what Streams Dev said. But after seeing some of the demands that NASCAR and other race car drivers are having to meet to stay competitive, I began to have more respect for them. I think being one of the more physically demanding forms of entertainment is what makes NASCAR so good. That and the rich history behind it is why I love NASCAR so much. Thanks for asking, Griff. Yeah, so it's like the demands, sure. Like it's one of those things where the demands is definitely huge, but I just like if NASCAR can continue to succeed, if we get more cars on the racetrack, that'd be nice as well. The more
Yeah.
cars, the funner, if you will.
Hmm.
So yeah, so those are the reasons why I love NASCAR so much. If you guys got any comments and why do you guys like NASCAR, go ahead and plug that away in the comment section down below. All right, so now what we're going to do here is we're going to switch topics. Thank you, Alex, for not reminding me. And
You're welcome.
so going back to Discord, we do have a section where you can ask us anything. And so we'll go ahead and we're going to answer a few questions here from the Discord server here. We're not going to answer all the questions here, but we might answer them in the future. So don't hold back, and it's nothing against you guys. It's just we want to get as many different people on board as possible, and also any questions that really are worthy of a discussion. So, Alex, why don't you go ahead and pick the first question out of the bunch?
Okay. Let's see here. I'm gonna go with um, C Grindstaff, asking what kind of music do you like?
Okay, good question. So it varies for sure. Especially at my job, I can listen to all sorts of music.
Yeah.
I am mostly like a heavy rock guy. I definitely like Disturbed, and the album that I'm like hooked on, especially when I do like a heavy workout, like when I weightlift, is the 2010 album. And so you have like Asylum and Just Another Way to Die and Warrior
Hmm.
are all on that album. I do have a pop side, and I like Rihanna. Don't judge.
Hmm.
Rihanna is definitely I definitely
Yeah.
like her. Who else? Lately, I've gone back into Skillet, which is another rock
Ooh.
band, and they're more a little more on the Christian side, but their heavy beats are definitely like spot on, fantastic. I do listen to like sleep music when I like go to bed, so I don't know if that counts as music per se, but I mean I do listen to that. And then really anything like alternative, like anything that just doesn't fit the mold of like normal music. So like for example, like Billie Eilish, the 2019 album. I'm definitely a big fan of that album, and
Mhm.
again, just alt music in general. So if you guys have any like recommendations for what I should listen to in the future, either put them here in the comment section down below. But we also in the Discord have a section for what are you listening to, and if you have any great suggestions there, go ahead and pop them away. So Alex, what do you listen to?
I'm kind of like you. I can listen to almost anything, especially the rock, the heavy metal, rock, stuff like that. One of my favorite all-time albums is actually turning 20 years old here in a couple months. It's Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory. It was their first album.
Yes, yep.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Even at work when I'm sorting packages, I'll I like to just put in my earbuds and listen to albums.
Yep.
That System of a Down. I
Mm.
love System of a Down. Um, I do like a little bit of Disturbed and Skillet. I do have a pop side. Occasionally, I'll turn on Q102 here in Cincinnati and listen to what big new songs are out.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, lately I've been getting into more of Juice World's music. Obviously, I know he passed away not too long ago.
Mm-hmm.
Something actually came out. Sonic, the Sonic movie, actually, they had a song called "Speed Me Up" that had Wiz Khalifa in it. Well, apparently something leaked out just recently that Juice World had an original version with that beat. So I've listened to it and I really like it. I thought it sounded really good. So I was like, whoa, I didn't know Juice World actually originally was going to sing for the Sonic movie. So
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was cool. I have a bit of an old soul as well. I like classic rock. I've seen classic rock bands like Boston, Kansas live. I've seen uh, Rush. I love Rush.
Hmm.
Um, Kiss, Heart. I've seen Cheap Trick. Um, Jason Bonham Experience, which is pretty much Led Zeppelin,
Mm-hmm.
um, and bands like that. So,
Okay.
and yeah,
So going back to soundtracks for a second, do you have a favorite soundtrack?
from a game or a movie,
Mo-
or does it
I
matter?
would say movie. Yeah.
Movie? Ooh. Um, I do like the Cars, because Cars has some iconic songs in there. If that's a safe, that's a safe
Yeah.
bet.
Yeah.
Real Gone, Life's a Highway, those kind
Yeah.
of songs.
Yeah. I gotcha. For me, I'd say two. One is the Dark Knight Rises album. Sometimes I'll listen to that when I work out. Just to dig, just that, just goes through my veins.
Yeah.
And then the other one, I'm trying to remember what it was. Oh, Spider Verse, Spider Man Into the Spider Verse.
Yes,
Oh,
I love that
yeah.
movie.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
soundtrack is phenomenal too.
Hmm.
Yeah. Oh, oh man, I'm no stranger. Oh man, I love that song so much.
You're my
Yeah.
sunflower. Yeah.
Yeah. Like how Miles sings it.
Oh yeah.
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 Yeah, I actually don't even know the lyrics either, so yeah, perfect. All right, let's move on to another question here. Let's see what I got. I'll do one. I guess it's lean more toward me, but I think you can answer this too. Actually, you know what? We'll do that one later. Let's go to Quack. So Quack asks, "Who is your favorite character in SpongeBob?" And the reason why
Ooh.
and the reason why I bring this one up is because literally last night, me and my roommate watched like the first 10 episodes of SpongeBob on DVD.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, yeah, and again, just fair warning, I'm 26, so yeah, me and my roommate cracked open a couple of Bush Lights and kicked back and enjoyed some good old classic SpongeBob.
That's the life right there.
Yeah, you mean she puts on airs? I think so. That's just fancy talk. You just gotta put
That's
your
just
pinky up like this.
when in doubt, pinky
Pinky
out.
out. I don't need it. I don't need
I
it.
don't need it.
I definitely don't need it. Ah, good times. All right. So my favorite character is Squidward. Just to be honest, I know he could be a bit of a meanie a couple of times, but I can relate to him. I can relate to
Hmm.
him, and hopefully in the future we can do a podcast episode where we talk all about SpongeBob. But yeah,
Yes.
Squidward is the one that I resonate with most, especially with work. It's one of those things where it's like he's there, he's doing his job, and all he's doing is just trying to get through life, and then SpongeBob.
Right.
So, do you got one, Alex?
You know what? I'm with you. I'm kind of leaning Squidward. Just because I forgot who talked about it one time, but someone made a good point. It's like when we're younger, we're more innocent, we're kids, we don't have as many responsibilities, we're
Yep.
SpongeBob.
Yep.
And when we get older, we feel more like Squidward. And I feel like, especially when us being adults now, I think a lot of us can relate to Squidward.
Yeah.
And I can't help but feel bad for him sometimes because he wants to, especially that, he wants to be a great clarinet player. He wants to succeed in life, but hasn't had the best of luck, right?
Hmm.
And I thought one of the most true statements I've ever heard from him was when I think it was the seahorse episode, Debbie, and
Yep.
yeah, Squidward looked at SpongeBob and said, "Listen here, SpongeBob. I order the food, you cook the food, the customer gets the food. We do that for 40 years, and then we die." I was like, oh, I look back at that quote later, I'm like, oh my god, he was right.
Is right. Uh, but I mean, we should like mention other people other than Squidward. Like
Oh yeah,
I like Patrick before the first movie. Like it's one of
yeah,
those things about Patrick where like like he's dumb, yeah, but there's like, how do I explain it? It's like he's dumb, but it's like in a like I love him kind of way. Like you're a big
Yeah,
dummy, but give me a hug anyway.
yeah.
I,
That's what Patrick was early on.
mm, and then everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Anymore, it's just I look. I've seen the newer episodes. I'm like, I look how they've massacred my poor boy. You know, it's pretty much that. So,
yeah,
and Sandy's probably one of my favorites too, because she's kind of like that. Kick
mm,
butt. She's got that. Of course, the Texas attitude and everything. Of course, you gotta love one of the early episodes where she got so mad because she was about to leave for Texas, and then she came back. It's like, "What did you say? Don't you dare say Texas's name in vain," or whatever.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Good. I think we answered that question. You want to pick another one?
yeah. Let's see here. Let's see. That was a good question.
Yeah.
Um, let's see here. What if this is from Black Hawk Rabbits?
Oh boy.
Um,
Yep.
what if Lightning McQueen was in NASCAR starring in 2006? Just a food for.
Come on. He could have won the championship and then turn around and then pick up the king, you know? But no, he had to stop and let Chick
Chick
Hicks
Hicks.
win. Yeah. So actually, so fun fact, I actually have not seen Cars 3 yet.
Oh,
So yeah, I've seen Cars 2, and I, wish I had that hour and a half of my life back, but but anyway though, yeah, Lightning McQueen, he would be so dominant that no one would watch. Just because it's like, oh, Lightning McQueen, he's in the race. He's probably going to win the race. And then
right.
you'll have his crash in 2017 and then retire
Jackson
forever.
Storm.
Yeah, Jackson meme. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, unless unless he becomes like a bust, like he wins like maybe 3 championships and then he just falls from grace.
Yeah.
Maybe. All right. I guess I'll pick another one here. Let's see here. I guess we could throw this one out. From Taylor Tot 16. Have you watched The Loud House? Alex, have you?
Seen a pretty good amount of episodes.
You have. Okay. So I have not. And from what I've seen of it, like visually it looks really nice. It looks very pretty for sure. Ooh, they are making a diecast. Thanks for the message,
Yeah.
Alex. Okay.
You're welcome.
So Alex sent me a message, and apparently Zane Smith's race-winning truck is up for diecast in the 124 scale. But anyway,
Hmm.
going back to Loud House, like visually, it looks nice. It kind of has a bit of a Gravity Falls vibe with the eyes like next to each other, and the
Yeah.
concept is interesting because you have one boy and like how many girls is it? Like 11, right?
Yeah, something like that.
It's a lot, yeah. Yeah, it looks interesting. I guess my only like worry is where can I watch it? I mean, I know it's on Nickelodeon, but like, is it on a streaming service at all?
That I actually do not know, but maybe if I can just look it up real fast, I'm sure I could find something.
Yeah. Now, like, don't get me
Let's-
wrong. Even though I've not seen an episode yet, like, I understand the concept of the show. Like, again, you have a boy and with a sea of girls, and just it's a loud house, I guess. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, I mean, it's on my list. I don't think I'm gonna like binge like the entire series, if you will, but no, I'd definitely be down for watching a few episodes. But Alex, you've seen the show, so what are your thoughts on it?
I think it's a pretty good show. I feel like I need to go back and see a few more for sure. I know they also made a spin-off series called the Casa Grandes.
Yep.
Yeah, but I think it's a good animation. The animation's really good. I definitely could say more if I can. Overall, though, I think the Loud House is pretty good.
Is there like a through line story at all in the show, or is it a episodic show?
I think it's episodic.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't plan on watching it anytime soon, but like again, like it does look interesting, and it doesn't look as bad as like Planet Sheen or anything like that. let's do two more questions. So, Alex, why don't you pick another one?
Okay. Um, this is from II underscore Chad Fincham 49 or NASCAR fan 22. Which of the rookies this year would win Rookie of the Year?
Okay, so before you answer, why don't you pick one, and then I'm gonna purposely pick a different one, and let's do like a little mini debate on like why that driver is gonna win the Rookie of the Year this year.
Okay.
So, who do you got?
Well, I had a predictions video, and I originally picked Cole Custer to win the Rookie of the Year.
Okay.
And I think it's kind of tough now, but since he does have, I think they do the rookie points differently now, but since he does now have that win at Kentucky,
Mm-hmm.
I'm leaning towards Cole Custer.
Okay. All right. I am going to say Christopher Bell is going to win the Rookie of the Year. And the reason why, he is starting to gain steam. He knows he has a good ride ahead of him. He did pretty well at, well, I mean, the finish didn't show, but like he was running well at Michigan. And I could see him pulling off a upset win at one of the short tracks coming up here. And so, yeah, Cole Custer is a little bit ahead, but I could totally see Christopher Bell like gaining the steam and at the end is able to pull out just enough in front of Cole Custer to be the Rookie of the Year this year.
I think that's a very good take on that.
Yeah, but I can also see Tyler Reddick also being the
Yeah,
Rookie of the Year. He's been pretty good. I would definitely say one of the better Chevys, that's for sure.
I agree.
The only problem with him though is like I hate to say it, but that team is still fairly inconsistent. Like I think their like mile and a half package is pretty good, but everywhere else still needs a little more work, in my opinion.
Right.
So I think Reddick will be like a challenge, but I don't think he will get it. However, you know who I think is going to be the Rookie of the Year? Quinn Hoff. He is going
Yes.
to come out of nowhere. He's going to win like 5 races in a row. He's going to shock the world. Starcom Racing is going to win a lot. WinVal is going to get a lot of money, and it's and yeah, Quinn Hoff is totally going to win it all. So yeah.
Don't forget about John Hunter Nemechek.
Yeah. No.
Oh man.
So yeah, I think Christopher Bell might get the job done. So
Okay.
all right, so one more question here, and then we can wrap up the first episode of the podcast. Let's see here.
Right.
Let's see if I could find. There was one that. You know what? Let's talk about this. I think it'll be a nice way to end. It's from the news, and the news asked, "Has the channel exceeded your expectations, or do you still feel like you can expand it?" Before I give my take, Alex, how about you? Like, yeah, how do you feel about your channel so far?
Um. I mean, when I guess I treat YouTube as more like a hobby,
Mm-hmm.
because if I think of an idea, I make it. Of course, the exception being now I actually have a project with Sunday Night Lights, but you know, I'm I may have 2.2 only like 2,600 subscribers, but it's like it's better to have 40 people watching than none. So
Mm-hmm.
there's probably room for improvement for sure. I think there's always room for to expand or improve upon things. But there have been some videos where it shattered my expectations, and I'm like, whoa, okay, because I think it was like my 2020 predictions video, and a lot of people watched that. And I was like, wow, okay, I wasn't expecting that, but that's pretty cool. It's I guess it just puts a smile on my face, but yeah, I mean, there's always room for things to add on.
Gotcha. So for me, this is a very interesting question. It's actually one that I like. It definitely makes you think. So going
Hmm.
back to the question again. So has the channel exceeded my expectations, or ah? So I guess to start off, like I feel like I'm a different person now than who I was back in 2016, because back in 2016, that's when I made my the Dale Earnhardt series, and I just wanted to start off like saying like you, Alex. When I made my videos like back in the day, I did it for fun. I was not
Yeah.
worried about like views or monetization, and I mentioned it in the previous podcast. My first video that I ever monetized was the sixth part of the Dale Earnhardt series, the Rolling Through the Changes video. That was the first
Hmm.
video I ever monetized. Everything else before then, I didn't touch. Could I have done something with it? Sure. But no, I never touched it. I never dealt with that stuff. And it was just my mindset back in the day. My mindset was just like I had these ideas. I finally got Inner 2003. I finally got Camera Control Master to work. Let's make these fun little videos. And I did that. And not gonna lie, at the beginning it was a little cringy. Like some of the commentary I did and some of my edits were, not really the best. But I learn and I keep making the videos and they, significantly got better and better every time I made them. And I guess I should have added even before then, before doing the Inner 2003 stuff, I made the stop motion videos. And that was kind of a wake up call too, because like again, I made those for fun. Wasn't really expecting many views, and for all of them to get like thousands of views, it's like, what the heck? Like, where did this come from? And
Hmm.
now, granted, some of the actually not some, all of the stop motion videos were songs. Like I literally just pasted a song on there, and so some people might have maybe watched the stop motion just to listen to the song. I don't know. But as far as I'm concerned, like again, a lot of people watch those stop motion videos, and now a lot of people have watched like these videos, and it really it's such poor timing. It's such poor timing when it like really dawned on me like how much of an impact I actually like have on here. And it's one of those things where it's like I don't think about that, and I try not to think about that. Like I'm just more worried about the craft, but like hey, I have like 4,500 subscribers, and like there are a lot of people that do watch my content, and it does blow my mind. Especially like once I got the full-time job, like I knew I could not commit as hard, like, and I couldn't work on like one more spark as like in depth.
Hmm.
And so going back to the actual question, has it exceeded my expectations, or can I still expand on it? So, what I want to do is like I want to create. Well, and I don't know if it's already like established or not, but like, remember how I mentioned earlier in the podcast, like there are people that have like there are different like subsections within the NASCAR community. You got like the
Yeah.
let's players and the commentators and stop motion makers and all that. Like the area that I want to focus on is like that creation side, like
Hmm.
taking the concept of NASCAR and like making, oops, excuse me, making new like videos, new series, different stuff. Like that's not documentary. You know what I mean? Like instead of talking about stuff that already existed, making something new and creating like
Yeah.
a new story out of that. And that's the thing I want to foster and I want to like help like grow is that idea of like creating like these different new stories. Like so for example, the Summer Showdown, 2018 Summer Showdown. It's something completely new, completely different. No one has ever done it before. And all the time and effort that I put into it, with all of the help from you, Black Flag Matter, Danny B, all of those guys, like it was phenomenal.
Hmm.
And so the answer to his question is yes. Has the channel exceeded my expectations? Absolutely. But do you think I could still expand on it? Also, absolutely. And so this kind of goes into like talking about kind of my plans, if you will, for the rest of 2020 into 2021. For the rest of 2020, I just want to have fun. I want to do those like mini shorts on Twitter, and then like at the end of every month, I kind of post on here a compilation of all of the mini shorts into like a compilation video of all the stuff that I've made for the month, if you will. Do the podcast every week. If it gets a little rough, I might push it back to every other week, but for now, it'll be every week. Um, and then I also still want to develop my animation skills on the side. I'm still doing that. I'm still like learning about the walk cycle and like making them move. And I again like I wanted to tell stories, but I want to do it in unique, creative ways. Um,
Hmm.
and so that's kind of where I'm at, where it's like on one end, yeah, it did exceed my expectations, and again, the fact that my Dale Earnhardt series has multiple thousands of views is phenomenal, and a lot of people like know who I am because of that series. On the flip side of the coin, though, because I want to dive more into the animation, that's something that is a little what's the word I'm looking for? It's something that's a little foreign to me still that I want to learn more about. And so instead of me worrying about like this channel and trying to make like a bunch of like Nerd 3 content, I want to still focus on myself, and I want to still like take that time to, be the best version of me that I can be, because the ultimate goal is I want to create stuff for a living. Like actually like make, I don't know, like the NASCAR videos or make animated videos or something like that and get paid for it. And then I can
Yeah.
like keep this place and I don't have to have this full-time job that, again, because 40 hours out of the week are sacrificed to that job, and that's a reason why I cannot make the stuff that I made back in 2016 and 2017. It's just I
Right.
don't have the time for that. So with the little time I have, I want to develop myself and grow and like mentally and spiritually. And again, I want to be the best I can be, and I want to create just some interesting stuff visually,
Mhm.
like, because again, I could talk my butt off like all day long, but as we've kind of mentioned before, I am more of an action guy, and I like what you see is stronger than like what you hear. So yeah, I guess just to finish off the question, like, I'm very happy with where I'm at right now, but I also know I still have a lot of work to go. So
Mhm.
do you have anything else you want to add, Alex?
Um, I definitely see where you're coming from. Um, I couldn't agree more. And yeah, I mean, it kind of sucks because you're in school and you feel like you have all the time in the world. Then suddenly he's like, "Oh, I'm out of school, and oh, I'm now living on my own. I got to pay bills. I got to
Mm-hmm.
work, stuff like that." So it is what it is, and you just work with it for now. But yeah, I from the podcasts to the on the side, I actually call high school sporting events. Well, if we do get any this fall,
Right.
um, and of course the YouTube stuff I can do, and of course the credentials and just doing stuff to give back to the sport that I love. If I can do that for a living, man,
Mm-hmm.
that's the goal. So that would be that would be awesome.
Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. So let's go ahead here. We are going to wrap up this podcast here. So, what we're going to do here is, yeah, as I said, we're going to wrap up here. So, next week's episode, so here on this channel, same time, 8 Eastern, 7 Central, will be episode number 2. And so, the way how we're going to do this is the main topic is going to switch between NASCAR and animation. And that's the reason why the name of the podcast is the ToonCar Tandem podcast. One of the cars is, NASCAR stuff, the other car is animation and cartoons. And so the main topic for next week is going to be why animation is such an important medium. And so next week, me and Alex will talk more in depth about kind of like how animation has inspired us, has influenced us, like why it's so important, why we're just so interested in it, and yeah, and we'll go from there. But other than that, we'll talk about the Daytona road course race because that would happen on Sunday. Hopefully, I mean, depending on rain and all that fun stuff. Well, right, and they have the rain tires, but lightning and
Yeah.
hurricanes and all that fun stuff. So yeah, so we will do that, and then as we've mentioned before, I have the Discord below, so if you have any questions that you want to ask for next week's podcast, we'll go ahead and ask those, and we might answer them on here. And don't be discouraged if your question was not answered here. We might answer it in a future episode. And then also too, like if you want to donate and support the podcast and support our future works, Streamlabs and Super Chats are open. So if you guys want to do that, that would be greatly appreciated as well. And then the last thing I do want to give a heads up on that Monday when we do the podcast, it will be one day after the 1 year anniversary since my little brother's passing. So I do want to talk about that for a little bit and acknowledge that. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there, and we'll go from there. So, Alex, where in the social media world could they find you?
Yep. I use Twitter a lot. You could follow me at AlexGray83. Gray, my last name, it's Gray, not EY. I know that gets mixed up a lot. And then my YouTube, well, Sonicals831.
Gotcha. And then as for me, all the stuff is in the description below. Join the community, join the discussion. We talk about, again, like NASCAR, we talk about animation, we talk about Inter 2003, what ifs, other motorsports, life, whatever you want to talk about, come on in and join the fun. And then also, I have two Twitter accounts. One is Griffdog, and that's more like NASCAR focused. And then I have another one called Griffin Spear, which is my full name, and that's more focused on animation and cartoons. And same thing with Instagram. I have GriffDogYT on Instagram, where I post kind of NASCAR stuff, Griffin Spear, and that's where I have my animation progress. So, with that being said, Alex, is there anything else that we forgot about?
I think that's about it, except when I was talking about Kentucky Speedway earlier, I just remembered this. I think it was on this day 10 years ago that they announced Kentucky getting a cup date. But besides that, that's it for me.
Wow, 10 years ago. Oh, cool. Well, there you go. There's your fun fact of the day. All right. Well, with that being said, hope to see you guys next week at the same time. And until then, this is Griffdog saying so long. Until next time. Bye, 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 and
Bye bye.
outro.